Okay, in these sections, I will explain about cash flow diagram. Cash flow diagram that is a sum diagram that visually represents income and expenses over some time interval. So in this diagram, we have found that arrows that represent income or expenses that different by the directions. So for search about net cash flow, we have formulation that net cash flow is equal to income minus expenses. Okay, there's elements that are found in the cash flow diagram. First, we have horizontal line that represents the period of a series of time intervals. Next, two, we have an arrow that have represents income or expenses, where for upward arrow, this represents income, and downward arrow, this represents expenses. Now, the last one, we have long arrow that represent the amount of income or expenses. Like this, we have a more long arrow for 150 million than 130 million. Next, actually, we have the perspective of cash flow diagram. That is for borrower's perspective or lender's perspective. In the borrower's perspective, we have, for example, in the period now, we have borrowed some money from others, and so in the period 0, we have to cash in. We get the money from others, so we have to cash in. But in the lender's perspective, they have to cash out. Why cash out? Because they borrow their money to us. So they have spent their money for us. So in this period 0, they have cash out. Next, in the next period, the borrowers needs to pay the money that they borrow. So in the next period, they have to cash out, and the lender's perspective have to cash in by the borrowers. Okay, next, there is 6 notations that we must know. First, I is represent interest rate per period and number of period. P present word, F for future words, A for the amount of money at the end of the period. So the A is the uniform series calculations, and G is the rate of increment or additions of one payment to next payment. G is for gradient. Okay, next. So how we must draw cash flow diagram? So for this problem, we have used some example like this. If you have $2,000 now and invest it at 10%, how much will it be worth in 8 years? So we must create this first to solve the problem in the cash flow diagram, into cash flow diagram. So we know that if you had $2,000 now, so it represents P, present worth. So in period 0, we have P is equal to $2,000. And now, how much will it be worth in 8 years? So in period 8, we must find how much will it be. It's represent the F or future worth. And then E is equal to 10%, that is in question. Okay, so to find the future worth, we can solve this with the table of interest that is like this, compound interest table. Before that, we have to make a formulation that F is equal to P, F for P, E, I, and M, where P for the present worth, F is the future word that will be searched, and P is the present words that have been known. I for interest is 10%, and N for the period that is 8 years. So we found it in the company interest tables. First, we must search the company interest tables that is in 10%. And then we search F per P in the column, in this upper column. So in this next step is found the n, where in equation we know that n is equal to 8. And after that, we have known the future words is in this. Then we can solve the problem by multiplicate this f with $2,000. Okay. Next, there's some kind of payment in cash flow diagram. First is a single payment that represents a single payment that have only one payment in the cash diagram. In this case, we have to find future words. The formulations of single payment is represented in this slide, where for simple interest, they have these formulations, and for compound interest, they have formulation. For present value, they have like compound interest, but one per f, so it's equal half to formulation like this. Okay, next we have uniform payment series that represent the payment is uniform and represented by A. For this case, some example is someone puts 100,000 in the bank at the end of each year. The bank rate is 55% annually. How much money did the person have at the end of year 5? So for solve this problem, we can solve this with this uniform series component. The most characteristic of uniform payment series is we have annually, the data that annually. So if someone puts $100 is annually for 5 years. So this we have A is 5. Okay, the next kind of cash flow diagram is linear gradient series, or we can know it as arithmetic gradient series. So linear gradient series actually is have the pattern that basically is the amount of cash flow that is equal to G in the second period, to G in the third period, 3G in the fourth period, and next on. So we can represent this diagram into this. We divide it beside we divide this annually and gradiently. So we can get this formulation. Okay, next we have geometric gradient series. There is some have the same as gradient series, but the difference is they have gradient that is not fixed. In linear gradient series, we have fixed gradient that is equal to G, but in geometric gradient series, we don't have it. So we can use this formulation to solve the problem. The next one, we have the irregular payment series, that the payment is not fixed, so they have the different payment in each period. Okay, there's all from me. Thank you for watch this video, and bye.